Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
This is for those in the audience that are approaching middle age and they're not sure what to look for or what to comprehend, so I'll give you a little clue. When you're close to middle age, you start choosing your cereal for the fiber, not for the toy. Morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Call in. Come on, everybody. Have a great day on a Tuesday. And a good morning to you and yours, Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with all the tires and all the brake service, everything for your safe driving. Stop in and see them today, along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance to start things off this morning. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wheels, could you just boost the feed line to me just a scrooge, just a little bit, if you would, please, old buddy. I'd appreciate that. Right now, it's time for our weather, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Hello, Roger and the crew over there on the Burley-Paul Highway. And don't forget, they've got the best of tools and equipment for you. Getting all set to garden and work on the lawn. Maybe you got some renovation projects out there. They've got all the rototillers, the mowers, everything at K&R Rental. Don't forget to give them a call, 678-3122. Find out more. K&R Rental. And right now, here's the weather.
Another beautiful day in almost summer-like conditions. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly sunny skies for today. A little bit of a breeze out of the south-southwest, right at about 5 miles an hour. We are looking at a high of 81 tonight. It appears that some clouds are going to be rolling into the valley with a low of 52. Those clouds are going to be sticking around for tomorrow, a little bit on the breezy side, expecting a high of 78. Mostly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 53. Then as we make our way towards the weekend on Thursday, we do have a 40% chance of rain. Showers going to be cooling off to about 72. Showers likely for Thursday evening with a low of 44, and that could carry over for Friday with a high of 54. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to everybody by K&R Rental. Oh, these are good people, and they can help you with whatever you need to rent for tools and equipment to finish any job. And if you're not sure, just call them. Find out. They can help you. 678-3122, K&R Rental on the Burley-Paul Highway. I'm going to stop right here for a moment. And I want to give tribute to a gentleman that was a great friend to this program. And he passed away last night, and I'm talking about J.R. Strunk. He was a friend of this program, and he was always here on the program to talk about projects and community activities to help others. And as I said, was on the show many, many times with his partner and good friend, George Mass. Well, he loved his Harleys, And I always loved to visit with him in regards to his being the head of the Combat Vets Motorcycle Club, and when they had functions out in the city square in Rupert, how they would pull in and they'd rev up those engines with those big Harleys. He served his country, he served his community, and now is serving God. And you know, hopefully, when we all get to the gates of heaven, maybe we can listen for that low, deep rumble of that Harley. It's JR. He's there. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Want to remind you, too, about our friends at Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Don't forget that you can have them do your washing. That's right, they'll wash, dry, fold, and clean all your clothes, iron all your clothes. Holy smokes, they can take care of everything for you. So stop in and see Kevin and Cindy today. I mean, don't put it off. 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, the best. Daryl's Cleaners, serving you. We've been going there for a long time. I urge you to do the same. Daryl's Cleaners. Don't forget, Thursday is sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. I just had my headsets crack. Bang! Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley, 678-9411. Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy at the sale that works for you. 10:30 starting time this Thursday. Don't forget, for cattle consignments and sale information, 678-9411. I'll say it again, 678-9411. Burley Livestock Sale Yard, sale on Thursday. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
And a good morning to you, too. You know, Zeb, you are probably one of the premier talk show hosts that I know of, and you do a very good job. You're also a famous rodeo announcer, right?
I've had my share of enjoying that life, yes.
Let me tell you a story about experience. About 20 years ago, or maybe more or less, I don't know, but a big box store came to Twin Falls. And this big box store had a lot of experience because they had so many stores and everything. And so what they did before they opened the doors for that thing, they went out and they hired people, contractors, plumbers, electricians, and all that, and paid them really, really well to come and work for them.
Keith, you're going to have to go fast. You're going to have to go fast, Keith, because I'm running behind on commercials. So go ahead, quickly.
Okay. To try to make it as quickly as possible, this went on for about a year, and then the people who head of the store started firing these people who they had paid all this big money to because they were very knowledgeable, and hiring people just above minimum wage to do the same job. You go in that store today, and what will you find? If you can find a clerk, he will tell you, this is not my department. He'll send you to some other department, and he doesn't know what he's doing either. So what I'm saying, there is no substitute for experience, whether you're a radio announcer or whatever, or car sales, whatever. Let's hire people who are experienced.
Well, I can't argue that. I think the best people for the job, and it doesn't have anything to do with the color of their skin or anything else. I hire who I want to hire. I'm not going to be mandated or told that I have to fill a certain quota or percentage, but knowledge and working for the company and trying to represent the company are the primary prerequisites, and those are the people that should have the job with the knowledge to put forth the product information to the public. Keith, I got to run, but I appreciate your talking about about that. It's something that needed to be said. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Got to remind everybody about Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459, and they're open early in the morning at 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. And it's not bragging, it's a fact. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs are right there. Don't forget, if you have got your air conditioner primed and ready to go, oops, you forgot to put a new filter in it for the warmer weather coming, they've got them all the filters right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. Want to remind you, too, next week, I got to keep saying this, next week, on the 23rd, we'll have Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and, of course, that is America's Diner. We are really going to have a good one this time. And we urge you to be there and try out many of the new menu choices, like the banana berry caramel crepe breakfast or the strawberry vanilla crepe breakfast. Oh, wow, it's good, I can guarantee it. All the delicious menu choices for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, anytime, all the time, at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Denny's Restaurant, serving you. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you hear about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? And remember, what's it been now, 3 months ago, when she was videotaped and all the news agencies picked up on this story about we're all going to die in 12 years. The earth is going to burn up and there's nothing left because of nobody paying attention to me on climate change. Remember that? And it was a very, very sincere plea for everybody to listen to her and follow her down the yellow brick road into obscurity and total tragedy by believing in that idiocy. Now, knowing that a lot of people are scoffing at her and that she has lost a lot of respect, Democratic New York Representative Cortez, listen, this just blows my mind. She complained Sunday that the Republican fact-checkers were taking her dry humor literally. When I heard this, I just absolutely about fell off my chair. And she said, quote, "This is a technique of the GOP to take dry humor and sarcasm literally and fact-check it. She said, like the world ending in 12 years thing, you'd have to have the social intelligence of a sea sponge to think it's literal." Now, wait a minute. I'm really offended by that because everybody and anybody that watched that little clip of her on the news knew that there was sincerity. There was no dry humor there. She's a liar that got caught in her lie. And to say that you'd have to have the social intelligence of a sea sponge to think it's literal, she's a very offensive woman. One of many that we have representing us in the halls of Congress, along with Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and others. Disgusting woman. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. This Democratic Party out there took an oath to protect and serve this country. The only thing they're doing, they're sitting back and watching the invasion of our country.
Yep.
They've got a personal vendetta against the greatest president and his family that this country ever had. They have dishonored their oath. Now, on the other hand, we have police officers out there being gunned down in the streets just about every day, never returning home. They have honored their oath to protect and serve our communities.
And later on this morning, and I hope you're able to hear him, at 10:32 this morning, I have Sergeant Mike McGrew, a California policeman, that's going to be on our program, and we're going to be talking about the dangers, the hazards, and the absolute ridiculous attitude in the state of California directed at police officers. So don't miss that, Tony. That's coming up at 10:30 this morning.
Yeah, this Democratic Party is just a plain disgrace.
I couldn't agree more.
Going on up there.
You know,
Tired of it.
They're making a mockery, honestly, as the entire party. And the ones that are living locally in the state of Idaho, Magic Valley, the state, et cetera, with the Democratic Party, they've kind of pulled their neck in under the rock. They don't say anything. They don't do too much because I think they're honestly embarrassed about what's going on the national level.
Our police officers here in the United States are going to be gunned down every day if this invasion continues.
It's sick. 17, I believe, police officers across the United States have given their lives this year. And I'm heartbroken for their families, their children, their community, etc. Tony, you always bring up good points. God bless you, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, sir. Caller number 2, I'll be there in a moment. Stand by. Don't forget, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Absolutely the number to call to make an appointment so they can get in there and help you. You can get in there and they'll help you, I should say. All the aching and the pain they know all the exercises, and of course they've got that great hydrotherapy pool, the only one of its kind in this area. Please don't put it off. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists. Boy, I'll tell you, I'm going to be starting up there again next week. Looking forward to it at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And again, that telephone number for you to call, 678-1191. Really good people. Also, irrigation time. Man, oh man, oh man. And we've got some folks on our program that are big, heavy hitters. I mean, they hit it out of the park, helping you farmers with all your irrigation needs, and that's Rain for Rent. And they're located at 134 South, 600 West of Paul. Jake Spalding and the rest of the crew over there, they're a Reinke Diamond dealer, and let me tell you what, they've got a dedicated, very dedicated sales and service staff to help you with all your irrigation needs. I want you to call them, get a hold of them today, 438-5065. And they've got the telemetry annex boxes for any pivot that you can operate your pivots right from your phone. Holy moly, Rain for Rent, 438-5065. You get a hold of them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb. I'm surprised she knows what a sea sponge is, really, honestly, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I don't see her IQ much going above a third grade level. What I called about was the Democratic Party is, like your caller said before, one of the greatest presidents and families that's ever held the Oval Office, that ever has held the office of president, who's making our country stronger financially and patriotically, and all they want to do is knock him down.
Yeah.
What do they think? What do the voters think is going to happen? I don't understand. This is something I've questioned from the Democratic Party, and I've yet to hear an answer from any of them. What do you expect is going to happen if they get their way and they go to a socialist country? What do you think is going to happen, people?
Yeah, you know, Riley,
no one will tell me.
I've sat there many, many evenings watching the news in my living room, taking notes and watching some of these really stupid, uneducated commentators like Don Lemon from CNN and others, and some of the statements that they make, and some of the charges that they make, and some of the allegations that they make about how things could possibly be better with a socialistic value in this country. It just blows me away. I mean, I love this country. This country has done so much for me, and I know you feel the same way. But to them embrace socialism and try to get us induced into embracing socialism and all the negativity that spawns from it, I mean, we must be crazy to even give them any credence whatsoever.
Well, for heaven's sake, if they look at what's happening in North Korea, they look at if they can find any real actual news from China or Vietnam. I mean, come on, look at these communist countries. The people are below peasant status. They are like expendable
Yeah.
to the government.
Yeah.
You work until this certain point, and if you're not productive, why then just tough duty?
You know, and that's really...
You're just another tool in the shed.
You know, really, that's a really good word to put in the situation. We saw it happen in Venezuela. We've seen it happen in other countries with the governmental takeover and the total control. Expendability. Expendability, that word you used just now for human beings, and that word sickens me. There is no value of human life. They are expendable. Riley, I got to run, but you're always welcome to call in. Thank you so much.
Talk to you later.
Appreciate it, buddy. He brought up a really good word. You know, under the socialistic system / communism, etc., expendable. Yeah, what do people mean? We'll just go ahead with these workers, and if we don't have enough productivity, we'll go get somebody else. Throw them away. Trash them. They're worthless. Human beings. That's what we're coming to in this country. Expendability. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to ask you about health care, and I tell you something, folks, there's very few subjects that I can't sit down and reason out and try to see the other side, but boy, I'm so livid mad over what I heard over the last couple of days. I want to get your opinion. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox with their home comfort systems, offering up to $1,700 in rebates on a new home comfort system. All you have to do is check it out. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. Terms and conditions apply. See the dealer for details. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Also, quickly, a reminder about our friends at Ark Animal Hospital. Hello, Dr. Bill and the whole crew. They get up every morning and go to work, and they say, we are involved in making sure that all your animals stay healthy. Yes, absolutely. What a great outlook, you know, to make sure they take care of all the dairy cattle and the horses and the little bitty kitty cats and the dogs and the puppies and everything. Well, I'll tell you what, now is the time to get your puppies vaccinated, and they should be vaccinated at least 6 to 8 weeks of age, and then boosters every 30 days until they're 4 months old. Don't let those little puppies suffer. You be sure and get a hold of them today. Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Hayburn, and the number to call 678-1177. And they do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Really good folks over there. Okay, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Folks, what in the world are the Democrats thinking? Now, the other day, I had a call, and they said, well, you just keep picking on the Democrats all the time. No. When the Republicans do something stupid, which is quite often, we go ahead and chew on them, too. But what are the Democrats thinking and trying to do in offering your health care to illegal aliens? Now, there are those in the audience right now that are going to wrinkle their top lip in a kind of a snarl against me. And they're going to say, you call yourself a Christian and you're not going to provide health care to illegal aliens? No, I don't want to. We are living in a country that is so blessed, but yet we pay right now so much. And to diminish and devalue what we have in this country for our citizenry is absolutely not fair, and it's eventually going to break us and turn us into a miserable hole of a third world country like from which they are escaping. To tell people that we're going to give them their health care, just a minute, caller, stand by. We're going to give them health care free, paid for by you and me, is absolutely insane. We cover the bills for others that are not working and not citizens. It's absolutely ridiculous. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zed, this makes me so mad. We give reparations to every country almost on this earth. We give them billions and billions of dollars sent to their country that their government officials waste. Usually goes to nobody that really needs it, just people to get more rich. I don't think anybody that's in this country illegally should get 1 cent of government money for anything, any reason, anyhow. They should get absolutely no welfare. They should get absolutely nothing from this country. And if they come to this country from another country, that country should be cut off and everything we give them taken away from them for letting their people go across the border illegally.
I have nothing more to add to that other than amen. I don't want my tax dollars. I don't want to see your health care for what you need and what your wife needs and what your family needs given to someone else free that is not a citizen of this country, has never contributed to this country, under the guise of, oh, we're just great Christian people and we're just going to give it to everybody. Pretty soon there's nothing left to give. Pretty soon there's nothing left to offer. Pretty soon there's nothing next ever to obtain for your own health care. We've got to draw a line in the sand. And these Democrats like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and others are completely crazy providing our expense money to give free health care to others that are not even citizens. We've got to say not only no, but you know what kind of no. This has got to stop, Jerry.
I agree with you 100%. And we need to, make our Congress people follow them rules. And that's big a part of our problem, too, is our Congress people.
Get
off the air, let the next guy in. You have a wonderful day. May the Lord bless you and your whole audience.
Thank you very much, Jerry. I appreciate you always. Thank you very much. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental. We had Corey Chandler on the air last week, and Corey did an outstanding job talking to us about the Bobcats and the mini excavators and the rebates, and also the Doosan low-rate financing and rebates. Oh, man, they've got all the equipment. If you need to lift, dig, push, and carry something, they've got all the big equipment to get the job done. And they've got all the Bobcats in the various sizes. All you need to do to find out about the equipment that you need for any job is just get a hold of them. Barry Equipment and Rental, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, or 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, or the Nampa location. They'll help you. And if you're not sure how to run the equipment, especially at the Burley location, they got a great big sandbox, literally a big old sandbox right behind the business. They'll teach you. Barry Equipment and Rental, Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
They hung up, sir. I'm hoping they'll call back in, though.
Well, so am I. Okay, thank you, Wheels. What do you think about giving away all your health care? You've worked hard for your money. You have paid your taxes, and you and I don't know about you, but I'm sure that you're trying to enjoy the fruits of your labor, maybe in your later years, like I am. I don't want to give away anything to anybody from a foreign country. They live in their portion of the world. They should try to take care of their portion of the world. What would stop? Think about this. What would stop anybody and everybody from coming here en masse, maybe on a trip to the United States, and all of a sudden we end up paying for some kind of a rare disease or incurable disease? Everybody knows we're just going to provide it thanks to the Kamala Harrises and the Joe Bidens and that type of thing. We're paying for the world's health care? Think about that. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I have a question for you and your audience. What do you think about this new Salt Lake interchange?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think about it right now. I'm not going to talk about it right now because I was talking about health care, and you jumped subjects on me, but I'll hold on just a second. I don't like jumping subjects when I'm talking things like that because the audience was asked to incorporate their thoughts on health care. But quickly, to be fair to you, what are your thoughts about that spaghetti bowl out there? Quickly, and I don't want you to go on forever. Tell me.
I don't like it because I went to Pocatello And I didn't see a sign that said Pocatello, that I had to turn off. And I think it's a big joke.
Well, it's dangerous, too.
Very dangerous. Okay, you answered my question.
All right, God bless you, sir. Thank you. No, what he's talking about is that spaghetti mess out there east of Burley. I can honestly tell you that I'm not the only one that's got confused late at night driving through that absolute bowl of mush. And I ended up going towards Ogden. And when you're pulling a load of horses and everything and you're driving down the road late at night and you see, wait a minute, do I turn here or whatever? My daughter even had it happen to her, so it's not just me with my old-timers, if you will. Other people have had the same mess. I don't think it's marked right. I don't think it's lit up right. I think it's a great big mess. There. I talked about it. Caller, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The first time I went up there, Deanna was screaming at me to turn. And I was going, no, I'm going straight. Well, in this case, finally, I was right and she was wrong, but anyhow, it's confusing. God bless. It's confusing. Don't forget Dino Septic Service, all the septic tank pumping and the backhoe services and the sewer and sink drain lines clean, liquid waste removal. They do the job that you and I don't want to do. No. They've expanded their business and fast fare friendly people serving you at Dino Septic Service. 436-6526 or 678-1638 with a big truck that says, yep, smells cargo on the way. Dino Septic Service, please get a hold of them this morning. Good folks. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We are looking at a need in this country of so many doctors. We are looking at a need in this country of absolute huge numbers more of nurses and medical staff people. And yet the money and the hopes for a great career have been diminished. And if they go to a single-payer health type program, I'm afraid that research is going to be absolutely severely diminished. I'm afraid that people realizing that they can't go out and try to attain and be the best they can be and earn more money in a capitalistic system will be gone. They won't get into medicine. And yet we have dumb Democrats. I'm not going to mince words on this. Dumb Democrats like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and others that want to give free health care. Yours and mine, free to others coming into this country. Turn on the vacuum cleaner and listen to it, because that's what would sound like with free health care, people coming in from all over the world at our expense. I'm not making it up. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I do not like, I said this earlier, and I'm surprised I didn't get some calls. Some ladies out there, please, if you disagree with me, give me a jingle. But the likes of Rashida Tlaib, Muslim congresswoman, disgusting woman, and Ilhan Omar, another Muslim congresswoman, disgusting woman, that have used now their chair, if you will, in Congress to help develop their own anti-American and, quite frankly, anti-Israeli and anti-Christian values and expound upon them. I don't like these people. I don't like the fact that Rashida Tlaib making comments that are anti-Semitism comments against our biggest ally, Israel. I don't like her comments to where she basically supports Hamas, a terrorist organization in the Middle East bent on killing, bombing, and mutilating. I don't know how these women were elected, but I would like to see the ways and means of them getting unelected in the next election by somebody running against them and beating them at the polls. What are your thoughts about the transition in thinking and values in our House of Representatives and even our Senate? By people that are going against the values of this country and helping support people and organizations that are bent on terror and changing the structure of the entire world and making it much more dangerous. What are your thoughts? Give me a call. 436-2244. Caller, I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody once again about Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Don't forget, they have teamed up with Lennox Home Comfort Systems and are offering rebates of up to $1,700 on a new system. All you got to do is call Ramsey's at 678-0459. And don't forget, terms and conditions apply. See the dealer for details. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know that with that free Medicare or medicine for everybody, got a brother-in-law that lives in Canada where they have a single pay deal. He's got prostate cancer. It took him 4 months to get in to get a biopsy. There's no doctors. The cap on the doctors is $175,000 a year. It's the most they can make. So there's not very many doctors, and that's what'll happen here.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to see a depreciation and a devaluation of our medical system because people know that there's a cap on what they can make. There's a cap on where they can go, what they can do, how they can obtain perhaps more success. There's going to be a cap on medical research to the point where the money's not going to be there to study all the cancers and all the kidney diseases and everything else. I don't know why we're so dumb in this country, George.
Don't know. Yeah, but you look at the history, Zeb. The American people has never paid attention to history because it repeats itself over and over again.
Well, single-payer insurance, right there, the term single-payer should absolutely strike fear in everybody because it means a one-size-fits-all. It's the same shoe size for everybody. You get what everybody else gets, and if you're maybe a little older or your life isn't valued as much, you might not get a doggone thing.
Yep, my brother-in-law had a heart attack. They got him stable, kicked him out of the hospital, and it was 2 months where he went in for an angiogram.
Oh, my.
They're buck solid, and they just really don't give a damn.
And, you know, really, that is probably the best way to sum it up. The Democrats and the left with the single payer, they really don't give a damn. Thank you, George. God bless you, my dear friend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Caller, quickly, I'll take your call before I go to the weather. Go ahead, please.
Well, it's just unbelievable. You know, when you think about America, and you were talking about how nasty Rashida Tlaib and Linda Sarsour and Ilhan Omar are, right now, the next election, Muslims across this nation in various elections, and I may have said this the other day, they want to have 5,000-plus candidates running for office in our elections. And, you know, the people that elected these three, they were in Minnesota. Apparently they're Minnesota people. You know, they're forgiving and forgetting. And these, you know, they'll throw those poor Minnesotans into the fire.
Well, it's Minnesota and Michigan. Michigan and Minnesota both, Randy.
Right. Yeah, Dearborn, Michigan is totally gone.
Yeah.
Is Muslim. And see, across just 5,000 elected officials, and then not only that, Hispanics are growing in numbers too, and whether or not they're legal or illegal, in some cases, they are running for office, and I guess they have went through whatever processes they needed to go through. You've got to understand that running for office in California is easier if you're Hispanic than it is in Idaho.
Well, let me ask you this.
They've enabled them. Go ahead.
Now, let me ask you this real quick, Randy, because it's on the vein that we were talking about earlier. In Wheels, we got awful feedback right here. What do you think about the future, and it could very well happen in the very near future if they elect Democrats to run this country, of you, your wife, or any member of your family coming down with something that is very, very dangerous and it needs to be treated, and you go to the hospital and they say, well, I'm sorry, but we're all capped out. We have no more availability of treatment for you, maybe next month. This is what I am so afraid of, the gullibility and the naivete of America, because they're following these Democrats in lockstep over a cliff with this single-payer health care and giving health care to illegal aliens. My goodness, what's the matter with us in this country?
I don't know. One quick thing. Up in Nova Scotia, a young lady who had waited and waited in Canada for treatment, and she ended up sterile. And she says, I cannot have a baby, and I'll never have a baby. And my dream was to have children, because she had to wait in line up there with that single payer or whatever the hell it is up there. She is sterile, and she says, don't believe that Canadian health care is good, because it's not.
Absolutely. Randy, thank you for your call as always. I do appreciate it, and I mean that. Thank you. Thank you. I sit there, and Deanna and I, we watch the news together, and I take a lot of notes every night, going through the various stations and stories, etc. You got to wonder, what is the matter with us? I mean, honestly, what in the world would possibly take somebody's mind and try to get them to accept single-payer health insurance and follow the Democrats down a stupid path to absolute obscurity and defeat of providing health care for illegal aliens? What is the matter with us? Wake up. Somebody put the coffee on. Make it strong and black, because, boy, it's getting late. We got to wake up. Right now, let's talk about the weather. And the weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And they're right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. And they are waiting to serve you with your health care need. You know, I absolutely believe in these folks. They help me. They can help you. And each person that goes in, all the help is on an individual, customized personal treatment program. I urge you to call them for an appointment at 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Another beautiful day in almost summer-like conditions. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly sunny skies for today. A little bit of a breeze out of the south-southwest, right at about 5 miles an hour. We are looking at a high of 81 tonight. It appears that some clouds are going to be rolling into the valley with a low of 52. Those clouds are going to be sticking around for tomorrow, a little bit on the breezy side, expecting a high of 78. Mostly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 53. Then as we make our way towards the weekend on Thursday, we do have a 40% chance of rain. Showers going to be cooling off to about 72. Showers likely for Thursday evening with a low of 44, and that could carry over for Friday with a high of 54. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebedee.
Thank you very much, Gina. Thank you, and brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and the lovely, wonderful people over there that really care about your hearing health. Dr. Pickup, Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Hunsaker, all of these folks. Call and make an appointment today at 312-0957. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, there are people out in the audience right now this morning that either are going up and down the interstate or going to work, or maybe they're at their office and they're of the liberal persuasion. They're going, well, how dare you be so selfish? How dare you want to keep everything for you? Wait a minute. No, I'm not being selfish. I'm being realistic. We pay, believe me, we pay in this country. And for the goods and services that are provided back to us, the citizens of this country, if you want to see a complete disaster and disruption, go ahead and start doing like the dim Democrats want to do and provide health care for anybody that comes here, illegal or whatever. And you will have nothing. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There was a story on television last night. I believe it was on Tucker Carlson. I could be wrong on, I caught little bits and pieces of this, okay? There is a bakery in Ohio, and if I sound a little confused on some of this story, believe me, I'm still trying to ascertain some of the facts. But there's a bakery by the name of Gibson's Bakery, and they were basically robbed, okay? A bunch of black students in the area came into this bakery and literally shoplifted some things, and the owner of the bakery, and again, I want you to remember that I'm open and amenable to other facts. I've got 4 or 5 different versions of this story here this morning, but 3 black students went into this bakery, and they started punching and kicking the white shopkeeper after the shopkeeper let them know that they had shoplifted and he was going to call the police, etc. To make a long story short, the black illegal criminals are turning around and trying to sue and go after Gibson's Bakery because now they're saying it was racist for this white person running the bakery to go after them. And they're saying, oh, well, we just took a donut, or we took this, or we took a bottle of wine, but to come after us now is racist. What in the world is going on in our society? That the color of your skin is going to dictate whether or not you get thrown in a paddy wagon? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. We're having chicken Alfredo, mashed taters and gravy, green beans, salad, cake, your choice of frosting at the Senior Center on South Overland today. Everybody's welcome for only $5.
Okay, I got a question for you. How did they come up with the name Chicken Alfredo?
Zeb, I don't know what chicken Alfredo is, but it'll be good, I can guarantee you.
You're an honest man, Taylor. Thank you. God bless you.
We appreciate all you do.
All right, Joe.
Great program.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I love that man. He is quite a friend, Joe Taylor, the yummy man from the Senior Center right there on Overland. Don't forget, great food. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Is this what this country is coming to now, that if you get arrested for a crime, that all of a sudden you say, well, I'm black or I'm whatever, and they were racist because they were picking on me? Oh, my goodness. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
That you're a racist has worn itself out.
Absolutely.
After all, when you look at the countries in this world and you see what's going on all around us, America is the flag bearer. We are the ones who go to everybody's, help. And yet, how often do we feel like we have been thanked for what we've done to help our fellow men on this planet?
Not very darn much.
Our armies, the military is everywhere on this planet, making it better for other people. Where are they going to be if we get invaded?
Yeah. But
no, I just don't understand. People don't know this country. They're dumb.
Well, I can't argue that because I think you summed it up. People are being dumb and dumber every day. But when a business owner like the bakery in Ohio wants to press charges against these 3 that were shoplifting, but then the 3 turn around and say, well, they're just doing it because they're racist, and the whole community right there starts thinking the bakery's racist because these punks got arrested, what kind of a world are we living in?
Well, and I'll tell you what, these kids have been educated that no matter what comes up that's going to forbid them for doing what they want, that's what you say, you're racist.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of races in this world, and I love most of them. But the ones I don't like are the ones that think everybody is racist. Because we've got to live together on this planet. We can't be separating each other out and just demeaning them.
Yeah, I know. I went through that back about 12 years ago with the racism charges and everything else. And the dim, very dim Democrats, they throw this up every time they get a chance because they're not bright enough to figure out a good conversation and try to solve a problem. Chris, I got to run, but thank you so much for your call.
And thank you for what you do.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I want to remind everybody, the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they've been with us for a long, long time. We really appreciate them. All 7 locations serving you with all the tires you need for your cars, your pickups, your SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever. And many, many of these tires are on sale right now. I urge you to get in and save money and drive safely. Along with the best in brake service and front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and more. 7 locations, easy to get into, easy to find. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and our new friend over there on Overland and Burley, Trent. All of these locations serving you, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in, see them today. Right now, we're going to take a little break for about 7 minutes. Wheels, old buddy, old pal, it's all yours. And away we go on hour number 2 on this Tuesday, May the 14th already. Zeb at the Ranch, good morning, good morning, good morning. And, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the very best of tires for your safe driving, along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, old Wheels at the station has this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You know, you can say those 4 words over and over and over, always at your disposal. It's true. Western Waste Services, get on the route service and give them a call, 734-6969. They will be there once a week to pick up your garbage. Stand there on the hallway door and say, goodbye, garbage. They've come and got it. It's gone. Western Waste Services, 734-6969, always at your disposal. Hey, by the way, too, don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric, along with Lennox and their home comfort systems, offering up to $1,700 in rebates on a new system. All you got to do is just give them a call. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459, or visit them online at ramseysonline.com. See dealer for details. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Got a great guest coming on in just a moment. Stand by, but I also want to remind you about some really, really nice and conscientious folks, and they are Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff, taking care of you and your family and providing the family they serve with the best possible support and comfort, always with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. When there's the passing of a loved one, they are there to help. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call 436-5636. Or Joel Heward also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. I got to tell you that I have been absolutely excited about having this guy come on the program this morning and talk about his book, because I think it's long overdue. Somebody wrote a book about a bunch of wussies and people that are just absolutely not living up to the title of being a man. I'm going to say good morning to Stefan Arnio, author of Hard Times Create Strong Men. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Doing well. How about you?
Well, first and foremost, tell me, I hope I did not mispronounce your name. Correct me if I did.
You know what? My mother says Stefan rhymes with Effin.
Okay. Well, we will say Stefan from now on. And Arnio, is that correct?
You got it perfect.
All right. I cannot wait to have you tell us about this book, because I am so sick and tired of the crying zones like you had on your information sheet, or everybody get together and cuddle in groups and sing Kumbaya and make some chocolate s'mores. Oh, the world's going to hell. My goodness, what's going to happen? What happened to men like John Wayne and Robert Mitchum and other people?
Well, that's a really great question, Zed, because I think that there's a lot of men out there looking for strong men and a lot of women out there looking for strong men. And I wrote about it in my book, Hard Times Create Strong Men. You know, men and women both want strong men, but we just don't seem to make them anymore. What we have instead now is we have these crying zones, and we have the cuddle zones, and we have the Starbucks barista boys, and, you know, these young 20, 25, 30-year-old millennial guys. 80 years ago, we would have loaded them up on boats and dropped them off on the beaches of Normandy to fight Nazis. And today, they're crying at the university, and they're completely different guys. But these are the same men that would have fought wars 80 years ago.
Stefan, honestly, what happened? What brought this thing on and the onslaught of wussiness? What started this?
Well, it really started in the 1960s. We have an 80-year cycle of history, and it goes like this. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. So in 1940, we had hard times create strong men. The men had to go to war. It was tough. They were tough guys and strong. And then after that, we went into good times create weak men. And what happened in the 1960s, you know, we won the war, life was good, and from there we just got weaker and weaker and weaker because we didn't have to be strong, and things have been so good for so long, and now we're at the end of the 80-year cycle, and I think we're going to go back into hard times pretty soon, so we're going to have to get strong again.
But, you know, television, the sitcoms, all the different TV shows, I mean, like Beaver Cleaver's dad, Ward, and some of the stronger fathers, Robert, I forgot all of a sudden his last name on Father Knows Best, etc. There was an image back in the 50s and 60s of strong leadership in the home. Why in the world did we let that go away?
Well, I think what's happened a little bit is, you know, with the safety and the security and having so much wealth and power after winning World War II, I think the women have taken more center stage. And if you look at the young men nowadays, a lot of the young men don't have fathers, so they're raised by their mothers. And then, you know, the school system is a lot of women running it, and the whole thing has become feminized. And by having no male influence in these young men's lives, it's all female influence. We're essentially turning our young men into girls instead of boys.
I couldn't agree more. When you turn on the TV at night, Stefan, and you watch TV's commercials, all the commercials, I'll bet you 90%, and I dare you to tell me I'm wrong on this, all the commercials are geared where the leadership and the innovative ideas in the commercial are put forth by women, and men kind of tag along like a lapdog.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's like the latest Star Wars movie that came out where all the heroes were women and the men were all idiots. And we see that theme over and over again in the new movies that are coming out, and it's the women are so smart and so powerful, and the men are all incompetent. It's almost like Homer Simpson on The Simpsons. You know, he's a complete bumbling idiot, and little Lisa, the little girl, is the smartest one in the family. So that just continues times a million in the media. But, you know, when hard times hit, I don't know if the little girls will be able to save us.
You know, let me ask you this. Where do we start changing this thing? I mean, if you go into the school system, they're going to probably cry sexist to you. They're going to yell and scream. I mean, where do we start turning this bus around before it falls over a cliff?
that's why I wrote the book Hard Times Create Strong Men. Is it's kind of a manual on how to be a man, and it's what is a man in money, sex, religion, politics. Because I was running an office here in Winnipeg, where I live. And I came back from a vacation, and all my young men were rebelling. They said, "I don't like you. You're mean. This isn't my dream job. This isn't what I want to be doing." So I had to have a 6-hour How to Be a Man talk, and I wrote down all the things in a book, which became Hard Times Create Strong Men. And I think it really starts with the individual, where, you know, we got to get our own philosophy right, and I think return back to some of the Judeo-Christian values that made this country great, and return back to a lot of the old things that worked. And that's really what the book's about. It's about history and things that used to work really well for making men strong, and taking out the things that made them weak, because we do need strong men. I mean, the entire country is turning into a disaster because of the absence of masculinity, not because of toxic masculinity.
And I'm going to be very blunt on this program, and I, like your book, is not ever going to be politically correct. I blame a lot of what's going on in this country to the LGBT movement and the absolute wussification of males.
Yeah, well, the book is 0% politically correct. I mean, I say it right on the front. It's rated R, and if you're easily offended, you shouldn't read it because you'll start crying. And I say burn this book instead. If you're somebody who's sensitive to that, just don't read it. But if you want strong men to come back, maybe you should read the book.
You know, Stephen, let me ask you, is this attitude, if you will, I hate to use that word in regards to men's attitude changing, but is this something that seems to be permeating itself worldwide in other cultures, be it the Middle East or other areas, Europe, etc.? Is this growing in a problem area?
Well, I think it's happening in the Western world. I'm Canadian. It's happening in Canada. I see it in America. It's happening in Western Europe. But, you know, if you go over to the Muslim countries, they're the opposite. They have strong men in the Muslim countries, and those guys are tough. They're warriors. You know, they're ready to fight. They're strong. They're having children. They're having 8 babies. Those guys are in a different part of their cycle, and they're all about strong men.
You know, in your
Muslim countries, they're all about strong men, and over here in the Western world, we're about weak men right now, and that's not very good.
No. Over at the station, my engineer Wheels, turn up him a little bit in my ears, please, if you would. Thank you very much. When people buy your book, Hard Times Create Strong Men, give us a little breakdown of chapter by chapter, if you would, some of the hot points that you want people to try to remember.
Well, the book is 4 parts. It's money, sex, religion, politics, and the first chapter in the book, or the first lesson, is a man's purpose is his work. And this is the craziest thing I find as an entrepreneur and employer. When I'm employing these young men, they seem to not know that their work's important. And really, a man, he gets his value from doing well at his work, and that's what makes men respect him, other men. That's what makes women respect him, too, and it really starts out with a man's work. There's some confused men out there that think that their family is the first thing in their life, and that's a feminine purpose. So just the first thing is getting men back into their masculine purpose of work is really the most important thing. And when you see these young men who are, you know, the crybabies and the wussies and stuff, they don't even have a real job or any work to go to every day. So that's the first thing that has to be fixed. And then we go into, you know, sex, which is how to treat women and how women want to be treated. And then we go into religion and how man has to have something to believe in, a.k.a. God. And the last part is politics, which is protecting your tribe from other tribes. So it's really the basics of what men have always done to be successful and what they still need to do.
Do you, and Stefan, I wanted to ask you about this earlier, in regards to the sporting world in our society, do you think that Title IX, with the equality money and now allowing the transgenders to get involved with women's sports, all of this is just kind of a hodgepodge middling to belittle men even further?
Well, it is true statistically that when you take boys in sports and you add girls into sports, they stop competing because they don't see a need to compete against women. That's statistically proven, and that's one of the reasons why men don't do as well in school, is because they don't see a need to compete against women. It makes them not want to compete. But putting transgendered men against women is almost like a joke. And I said in my book, why not just lump everyone into one category and make it sports? And whoever's the strongest and the smartest can make it, and everyone else can't, in which case we probably have male sports only and no female sports, no transgender sports, because it would just be the strongest men. But it's a really screwed up thing to put transgendered men against women, because men's bodies are completely designed differently. We have much stronger bones, and men are designed to kill other men. So if you put those killers in there with females who are designed to raise babies, that's not going to be very good for the women.
You know, I can't imagine when I went to school. I'm an old man, Stephan. I'm in my 70s. And when I went to school back in the 60s college, I mean, men were men, women were women, and there was a definitive line right there. And people had pride in who and what they were and are. That pride is gone today, in my opinion. Am I wrong?
I think you're absolutely right, Zeb. You know, people just they have a community or a communal thinking now, and it's collectivist. It's not an individual where an individual is doing great, and I think it's one of those worlds now. Even look at a guy like Donald Trump, the president. You know, he's a guy who's doing great in life, and people like to throw stuff at him, and they like to attack him because he's an individual standing up. And we need these individuals to come back, because America was built as a great country from individuals who stood up against the man, a.k.a. England. And that's really where I think we have to go back to, is empowering individuals. And that's what the book Hard Times Create Strong Men is about, is empowering the individual so that he can make his own decisions.
Let me ask you this. If you had, since you've written this book and it's come out to the public reading, Hard Times Create Strong Men, what's been some of the reaction back to you? Tell us about that.
Well, I was expecting there to be some hate and some haters, but there hasn't really been very much haters. I've had some people buy 15 copies for their men's group. I've had some women, actually women really love the book because they want strong men more than men want men. And I've had some women buy 18 copies for every man in their life. I had a U.S. Navy SEAL write me a letter telling me he loved the book and asked if he could use it as a source for his own book. It's been a really tremendously positive response, because this is like a breath of fresh air in a world where you can't even breathe anymore, and people are really responding well to it. I've had young boys say they stopped masturbating, they stopped watching porn, they stopped. I've had guys marry their girlfriends after 8 years. They say, wow, this book made me man up and marry her. So it's really solving a lot of problems out there.
Do you think the problem with men acting in an extremely wussy and embarrassing way is a cyclical thing that's going to eventually go around and turn the clock back the other way, or is the problem growing?
Well, it's both. It's growing and it's also cyclical. You know, the 80-year cycle of hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. We're coming to the end of weak men create hard times. You know, that started in 2000, the year 2000. The year 2020 is going to be the end of that. So we're coming to the end of it. And we will go into hard times, and that's going to force men to be strong again and masculine again. And it's going to make women feminine again. And it's going to bring everything back to the way it was almost 80 years ago in a cycle. So it is going to change, but it's also growing. So it's kind of a double whammy there.
You know, the thing that bothers me is the non-gender society, especially in the larger markets, L.A., New York, Chicago, etc., and some of these children that are born into a society and a family where, oh, Johnny, you can be whatever you want to be. If you want to be a little girl today, that's fine. If you want to be a little boy tomorrow, if you want to be a giraffe on Friday, that's all right. How in the world are we going to get these people with their screwed up minds to stop tormenting these kids and let them to grow up and be little boys and little girls?
Well, that's really tough, because that's, you know, subjectivism versus objectivism. And if people are subjective, that's a really tough thing. I mean, you almost need a war to shake that up or something, because it seems to just get worse and worse and worse. And the question is, where does it stop? I don't know if it ever stops unless we have a big event where everybody goes, oh, man, this is nonsense. We got to get back to sense, because the human mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, and right now we're in nonsense land.
I have got to get a copy of this book, and I've got to read it, and I want to have you come back on again. Tell my audience where they can obtain the book, Hard Times Create Strong Men.
So they can get Hard Times Create Strong Men from my website, hardtimesstrongmen.com. That's hardtimesstrongmen.com.
Well, Stefan, I really appreciate you being on the program this morning. Stefan Arnio, and after I get a copy, please come back. We'll discuss it further.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Hard Times Create Strong Men, written by Stefan Arnio. And how true. He talks about the crying zones and the cuddle-up groups. What's the matter with these men today? I mean, my goodness sakes. And then, of course, battle against toxic masculinity and all this kind of things. Stand up, be proud, for heaven's sakes. You know what you are and you know who you are. For Pete's sakes, you don't have to draw a whole bunch of road maps. Ay. I got to pay some bills. I want to remind you that on Mondays at 10:30, we have a program segment called Vicky's Country Gardens with Green Thumbs, Dirty Knees, and Vicky's Country Gardens. Don't forget Vicky's Country Gardens on the Burley Paul Highway. And, of course, all your gardening needs, your flowers, your plants, your seeds, everything right there at Vicky's Country Garden. In just a few minutes, we're going to have our next guest on the air, and for some reason this morning, I'm having a terrible time. We have these things happen occasion where I have a hard time hearing everything over at the studio, and I'm going to ask old Wheels if he can maybe bump up just a little bit. I don't know why. Maybe a bad phone line or whatever. And I also want to remind you about our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Wow. Busy times over there. I'll guarantee you they've got everything over there. They've got a mattress sale out going on right now to where you can go in and get yourself a brand new mattress, save a lot of money, and get a good night's sleep. Oh, my goodness. All the different mattresses. I mean, all the queen sizes and all the plush, everything for you to sit back and relax and sleep. Stop in. And they've got all the floor coverings, too, at prices that you can't afford to pass up. And all the furniture. I mean, what a selection of all the recliners. You've got to get in there and see Jeff and the crew today at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. Lee's Furniture, serving you. Lunch Bunch. I've got to get this on. Lunch Bunch will be next week. Absolutely next week on Thursday at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. And we're going to start really plugging it next week. We had to make a little change because I made a mistake. And it's on the 23rd next week on Thursday. Don't forget that at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, Lunch Bunch on the 23rd. Now, my dear friend George Mass, and this is right around the corner, the 5th annual Idaho Roll Call Memorial Ride is going to take place on Saturday, June 1st. And then they're going to get together at the Idaho Roll Call Monument at 7th and Scott Street in Rupert for food and a very, very nice patriotic program. And I urge you to be a part of this. And George is going to be coming on my program in a couple of days, and we're going to be talking about the 5th annual Idaho Roll Call Memorial Ride coming up on June 1st. Don't forget that. Real quick, in another public service announcement, and I might as well hit them all right now. The Minidoka County Senior Center is holding a fundraising raffle for 13 gift baskets. Now, I don't know. They didn't tell me when they're going to draw for these. And each basket has a minimum value of $75 and was created with a different theme. And you can see them at the Senior Center at 702 11th Street in Rupert. The tickets are $2 for one ticket, $5 for 3 tickets. And then they say at the bottom of the note, date for drawing will be announced later. Okay. What else have we got cooking here? Oh, let's ride. Holy smokes. I want to remind you that if you want to get outside and just enjoy the great outdoors, wow, go over and check out all the side-by-sides, the four-wheelers, everything, the watercraft, all of this at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They are open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4, and wow, they've got a show showroom. You're going to wonder when you stop over there, how did they get all this stuff in there? Really good people at Let's Ride. They're always there to serve you with all the accessories, too, that you need for your watercrafts and your four-wheelers, etc., and a service department to keep you running. Absolutely. Stop over or give them a call, 436-4771. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. Absolutely, Let's Ride. I try to find out different people every day on this program to come on this show and talk about various and sundry items that are going on around the world, many, many national folks, and I ran across this gentleman that was available to perhaps come on the program, and I'm really excited to talk to him. His name is Pastor William Bill Bray. Bill, good morning. Good to have you on the program. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. It's a joy to be with you.
Well, no, the joy is all mine, my dear friend. And please tell my audience a little bit about Bill Bray that they didn't know until about 30 seconds ago.
Okay, I am a campus minister and missionary to the University of Virginia. And so my main focus is international students and helping win them to Christ and train them and disciple them so they can go back to their country as missionaries. So that's our big vision here.
Oh, my goodness. Well, it sounds to me like you've got quite a chore. Let's talk a little bit about religion, and I hope you don't mind if I call you Bill.
That's fine.
All right.
That's wonderful.
Let's talk a little bit about religion in general, and it seems like the diminishment and the absolute throwing away of Christianity in this country is becoming more concerning to me every day. What are your thoughts?
Yes. Well, yeah, we see this secularization, and we also, it's a daily matter here at the university. They want to ignore us, and they hope we'll just go away and not be present. But there's a determined community here that loves the students and loves the foreign visitors and wants to reach out to them. So that's our target.
Bill,
and our challenge is to face a secularized campus and a secularized world.
Okay. Let's break this down a little bit, Bill. You're on campus, you're a pastor, and your faith is very evident, and there are forces on campus and around the area that are against you and Christianity. How do you combat this and keep a smile on your face, because it's getting worse every day?
Well, I get up every morning and I pray and I read, and so I spend time, my personal relationship with God, I focus on that, and out of that devotional life, out of my personal walk with the Lord, I find the strength to minister to the students.
All right. And you are, assuming what you said earlier, you are basically kind of training, if you will, missionaries to go overseas and spread the gospel. Is that correct?
Right. That's our goal. That's our stated goal. I don't know how effective we are at it, but we're here to do it, and that's the ultimate goal. I think that's the ultimate goal of every Christian, every evangelical that has a heart for obeying Christ and doing His will.
Well, give us a little example of what your daily routine is like, and maybe some of the adversity that you face on campus, etc. Kind of paint us a picture as to what Bill Bray has to do every day.
Yeah. Like I said, it begins with maintaining my own relationship with the Lord, out of my personal piety and my personal devotion and example. That's where I gain the strength. So constantly keeping my eyes focused on Christ and reviewing his mission assignment to me. Mm-hmm. Having done that, I have a Tuesday night prayer meeting tonight. I have a Wednesday night Bible study, and the Bible study is the core of our campus outreach.
I see.
We work, we meet with the students and study God's Word, and out of that event, out of that time, everything else goes. It's like Sunday services for us.
I see.
On Thursday night, I have another accountability group, discipleship group. On Friday night, we have a prayer meeting to kind of end the week. So that's my activities.
Bill, what's it like on college campuses today being a Christian? And the reason I phrased it like that, I'm an old man. I haven't been on a college campus since I left college back in 1969. And a lot of things have changed. So what's it like trying to portray Christianity on college campuses today?
We have a lot of interest here in spiritual things. So there's probably 70 small groups on the grounds and the grounds of the university. So I think that it's no different than it's been through the centuries. I think we face the same skepticism of philosophers, of the people who want to organize their lives without God. Mm-hmm. And they're militant, they're serious about that, and that is the overwhelming culture of the university. Mm-hmm. But in the midst of it, there's people seeking God and seeking spiritual things, and so looking out for those people, loving them, and then providing a place for them to meet and to encourage one another. That's our activity.
One of the biggest worries that I have, and I'm very blunt on this program, I don't back water up for anybody, I say it like it is, I'm very concerned about Islamic influence in this country, and especially the Muslim influence on our college campuses. Am I wrong, or what are your worries?
Well, I don't, we have a Islamic group, we have a mosque that meets, and I don't think that they're having a serious impact spiritually at the University of Virginia. They're here, but they're not militant. They're not, they're certainly not successful in attracting students. The students are attracted to Christ.
All right. But you would say, and I'm sure you would agree, that's not the case in other places, other regions where there is a real concern.
Right. There's 3,000 universities in the United States, and I think it's hard to speak in universal terms, except, as you say, there's this universal secularism, there's this universal academic culture that wants to ignore God and wants to create an atheistic, godless society. Mm-hmm. So that's the overwhelming mood of the United States today.
With that godless society, we have seen I think it's absolutely atrocious attitude in no respect for life, whether it's the abortion issue or the other side of the coin, the way we treat our elderly. What about the abortion issue and being pro-life on college campuses today? Is it changing in the attitude?
I don't see any encouraging change. I think that your concern is a good one. We have a Students for Life group, and they're well known on the grounds. They're courageous in their witness. So we're standing up to it, and the students are standing up to it. There's but again, you have the overwhelming view, that discounts life. But we're standing against it. That's the important thing.
Absolutely.
We're not here at UVA. The pro-life people are known. There's two. We have two counseling centers, and I must commend the pro-life community. They're visible here.
Let me ask you one other concept, and I have been very, very vocal over since Christmas, actually, against ministerial associations and pastors in general for not being vocal enough, to use one of your words, and stand up at the pulpit and talk about the community ills and what needs to be done. Are pastors weaker in their messages today than what they used to be?
Yeah, I would say over here at UVA, we don't have a lot of support from the ministerial association and the community. For the most part, they have they've gone along with most of the current issues and viewpoints. They're more affected by the culture than affecting the culture. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
So, and they're defenders, and I'm surprised at the ministerial association and how I'm a member and I attend the meetings, but I'm surprised at how little they address the real issues of the day.
Why is that, do you think? Are they afraid? Are they timid? Are they cowardly because of the fact that they're looking at perhaps the tax status of their church? Or are they just afraid to stand up and tell it like it is to their congregation for fear they might offend somebody? I mean, what's the reason, Bill?
I don't know. That's I wish I could give an answer to why they're so reluctant, but we certainly have a reluctant go along with the culture, go along with the community view. For the most part, I don't see clergy and pastors that are standing up for any of the real issues.
Well, it's got to change, and I certainly hope it will. And people like yourself. Now, I want to highlight your book a little bit. Tell us about the book that you've written, or books.
Yes. Well, I've co-authored or edited or worked on 13 books, but the latest one is Called to All, and it's my own testimony how I was called into this ministry and how I found my place. So,
and where can the book?
Autobiographical.
All right, and where can the book be obtained, Bill?
Through any Christian bookstore or Amazon.
Okay.
It's a Zondervan book.
All right.
So it's a big Christian publishing house, and it's called Called to All by Billy Bray.
All right. Well, Bill, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your being on our program this morning, and I wish you luck back there on the grounds of the University of Virginia. And you absolutely are number one in my book for all the work you're doing. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you highlighting our ministry. And I think when when we talk about the church's response, I think that we need to find people like myself who have a missionary mentality and want to engage the student community.
Absolutely.
I think that we are an arm of the church, and although the local parishes and pastors may not be responding as they should, still there is a witness on the grounds. We have 30 different campus ministries and fellowships at the university.
Oh, my.
So,
all right, well,
there's a lot going on.
Absolutely. Pastor Bill Bray, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your taking the time to come on our program this morning, and we say this and mean it. God's blessings to you and what you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeb.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Nice man right there, Bill Bray, back at the University of Virginia, talking about, of course, the idea of having missionaries and training them to go overseas and preach the gospel, and also what he does right there on campus with the pro-life status, etc. Thank you, Bill Bray. Right now, I'm going to just put this out again. We did this yesterday, and we had some really good calls. I'm going to tell you that for the next 15 minutes or so on this program, it's an open forum, so you can call in, and we'll talk about anything you want to talk about, including that mess, the spaghetti bowl mess on the interstate out east of Burley. I don't know why they had to change that. Somebody's got to call me and let me know. A gentleman called earlier this morning, and he was saying about the mess and the dangers and the hazards. It's true, but why was it so important to just do all that? Was it really that busy and that negative before? Somebody let me know. Anyway, let's get a weather forecast on here. And the weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And they have been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. They are the best at what they do. Tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, financial statement preparation, retirement planning, all of this and so much more for you, your family, and your business. Offices in Burley and Rupert. The real professionals, Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Another beautiful day in almost summer-like conditions. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly sunny skies for today. A little bit of a breeze out of the south-southwest, right at about 5 miles an hour. We are looking at a high of 81 tonight. It appears that some clouds are going to be rolling into the valley with a low of 52. Those clouds are going to be sticking around for tomorrow, a little bit on the breezy side, expecting a high of 78. Mostly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 53. Then as we make our way towards the weekend on Thursday, we do have a 40% chance of rain. Showers going to be cooling off to about 72. Showers likely for Thursday evening with a low of 44, and that could carry over for Friday with a high of 54. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina, thank you. And the weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for over 50 years, they are the best in serving you and your family with offices in Burley and Rupert. All right, let the phone calls begin. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd love to hear from you. What is the count right now on the Democrats that have thrown their hats into the ring to be the possible nominee for Democratic president? What is it, 22, 23? Yeah, whatever the number is, it's absolutely growing. I think it's bigger than the population of Murtaugh right now. And some of these guys, like Steve Bullock, Montana governor, did you hear his ad? And it makes no sense to me whatsoever. His ad that he came out with this morning, and when he threw his respective hat in the ring, it came out and said, there's no more opportunity in the United States if we stay with Donald Trump. Wait a minute. Somebody's got to tell me why there's no more opportunity in the United States if we stay with Donald Trump. I mean, unemployment is way down and employment is way up. There are more jobs. The money, the economy, everything is growing. And yet these people come out and say, oh, there's no opportunity for my kids anymore in this country. How lunatic is that? This country's got still the greatest opportunity of any place in the world today, bar none. You want to work? You want to try? You can succeed if you try and if you work in America for any field of endeavor that you want to choose. And the sympathy for these kids going to college, oh, well, all their debt and everything. Don't go to college. Go to a trade school. Do what you like to do and you'll never consider it work. I'll say that again. Do what you like to do and you'll never consider it work. But to go to school to learn basket weaving or pottery or whatever else and have a combined bill of maybe $250,000, that's stupid, ridiculous, and absolutely not going to gain you anything. I don't think college degrees in general, are really going to get you anything because of the titles. You got to get off your big fat butt and you got to go to work. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Kind of a disconcerting story this morning, and one that we need to watch and be a little wary of, I should say. 120,000 troops are on possibility of standby. And they may be deployed to the Middle East to let Iran know that they better play according to the rules. It's a very high-tension story this morning, and one that we're going to stay on top of over the next couple of days. Iran, of course, the main bully in the Middle East, and Donald Trump not going to take any more of it. I noticed during a newscast yesterday, and during some question and answer session with the press, Trump became very, very agitated when asked about Iran, and he will not, you could tell by the tone of his voice and his verbiage, he is not going to take any garbage from Iran whatsoever. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb. I'm calling about this Minidoka County school bond deal we're going to have a week from today. People need to check into this. Last time we had a couple of months ago, we had a vote on it, and there was very few people even voted. Check into this. In 1983, we had more kids going to school in Minidoka County in 83, 84 than we've got now. Since then, we've built 3 schools. We've put lipstick on Minico. And do we really need to spend $21 million more dollars to educate our kids, or is this something that the local Democrats are just trying to push through to take money from us? I looked into it, and I'm really I'm appalled that they're trying to push something through like this. And I went to meetings last time. This time we've had absolutely no meetings on it that I've heard of. I've heard nothing on talk shows about it. I just had to say something. But
let me jump in. Let me jump in with you right here, if I may, please. Let's kind of go back and forth on this a little bit. I agree with you. There hasn't been anything thrown my way to put on the air. I have made it a point over the 18 years that I've had this program to be open and amenable to any group that wants to push a subject or promote a subject or try to inform the public about a subject. I've said the door's open. All you got to do is call me and schedule something. Now, here's what I'm going to say, and you can argue or agree with me. When Cassia County had their school bond, they called me and they asked if they could have time on various aspects and portions of my talk show, to which we did. I have not, to this date, not one single time, heard anything from the Minidoka County School Board or any of the leaders, and I find that to be a travesty, because the door's open if they want to put that information out in front of the public.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%, Zeb. I'm not blaming you. Don't get me wrong. I think what's happening here is if they don't say anything, you've got the landowners that are out working in the fields. They're busy. This is going to come and go. They're going to get the people to go in quietly and vote yes for it, and then we're going to be stuck for another $21 million. And you know what? Let's pay off the old car before we get a new car.
Well, I just absolutely think
we have to have a new building. We've got 200 in Minidoka County District. There's 200 and 46 teachers. That come right straight from them. And we have 247 classrooms.
Yeah.
Now, I realize that when you take the number of students we have, it averages out to 17 kids per teacher. Now, some teachers, I realize, teach fewer people because of special needs. But look, how much is enough? How much are we going to spend?
Yeah. Let me just say this, and I want to hold you to this because I appreciate your call. You call the school, you tell the leadership to come on my program, schedule something for next week, and inform the public as to what they're doing, why they want to do it, and why it's necessary. I can't be the dog that chases all the parked cars to get everybody on the program. That's what this program is for, people to learn and educate and find out about various subjects. Not one time have they contacted me, and I think it's appalling. You tell them that. Let's see if we can't get something on the air.
Yeah, the next week will be too late.
I know it.
A week from today.
I agree. I agree.
I mean, and I appreciate what you're doing, Zeb. I really do. I'm not blaming this on you. I agree with you. Why haven't they came on? Why haven't they? Last time they had meetings that we could go to, and I went to the meetings, and I liked them. I didn't go into this thing saying I didn't want to spend money. I don't like kids. That's not the point. I do, but I don't think we need to spend this much money right now.
The public needs to know why and how and where their tax dollars are going. Sir, I've got to do a commercial, but I thank you, and I mean this. I thank you for your call because the door's open on my studio anytime for somebody that wants to share with the public what's going on. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
God bless you. I appreciate that. And I do thank him for his call. You know, you got to inform the people. And I just sometimes, Deanna, and I say, well, why didn't they call us? Why didn't they schedule something? And it just seems like when it comes to communication, various groups don't know how to open the cover of the book. Don't forget, for all your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits, the very best at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. They really, really are dedicated and responsive to your needs. They take care of you. They want to make sure you're protected. Thoughtful and caring. All you have to do is just call the number 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Absolutely the best. Caller, I've got 30 seconds, and then I've got to run. Quickly, go.
All I was going to say was this governor of Montana. It just shows you how it is around us. How in the hell do the people of Montana vote for a Democratic governor, especially one that sounds like this? You say to yourself, what in the hell are you people thinking about? Aren't you people like us? I'm shocked.
It makes you wonder, Randy, because when he came out with this ad saying there's no more opportunity in this country, there's every opportunity in this United States of America if you get up off the couch and go seek it. I got to run to the news, but thanks for your call. Thank you, buddy. News next, CBS, and then we'll have Dr. History. Don't go away. Oh, good morning, and welcome back. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch, and we're very, very glad to be here with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. I put some duct tape on my headsets, and it's got my hair caught right now. Hurts. Anyway, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of tires. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. We're going to have our guest with us momentarily. I want to remind you, too, about Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox Home Comfort Systems, and they're offering up to $1,700 in rebates on a new home comfort system. Find out about it. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459, and terms and conditions apply. See the dealer for details. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Also, don't forget, too, on Thursdays we have a special segment called Cassia County School Days, and we very much appreciate everything they do for education here in the state of Idaho. And, of course, brought to you by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. All the clothing, all the games, puzzles, toys, the baby furniture, all the Cherokee scrubs, everything. It's a family store, and they welcome you to come on in. Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. Cassia County School Days on Thursdays at 10:10. Right now, here he is, a dear, dear friend of mine, and I mean that. He's been with us for a long time and continue to look forward to the future. Dr. History, good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in, hanging on. You've seen the picture of the cat holding onto the rope?
Well, and now you have duct tape holding your...
Yeah, well, I broke the headsets. And see, I'm not exaggerating, am I? There it is. And I put duct tape around the middle of the headsets, and the duct tape got loose, and it hit my hair, and ouch.
Oh, Zeb, I need to start out the program today with a tribute to my mother-in-law. Excuse me. There's a lot of jokes about mother-in-laws, and I've got to say, my mother-in-law is absolutely the kindest, gentlest spirit I have ever known. She passed away last Wednesday morning, and I could not have asked for a better mother-in-law. She treated me so well. She treated my wife and my kids and everybody so well. I call her a kind spirit.
That's a blessing.
Yeah, and it was good. She did not have to suffer, and she passed away last Wednesday morning. We'll have the funeral this Saturday. But anyway, she was a great influence for good in my life,
Absolutely.
And I appreciated her.
And her name?
Lois Juanita Klingler, and everybody called her Nita because that's from Juanita. But Anyway, she was a great influence in my life, my kids, my grandkids, everybody.
It's so nice and refreshing to hear somebody say like you just did. That's nice. It means a lot, I'm sure, to the rest of the family.
Well, she was that kind of a person.
Good.
So today, Zeb, how about we talk about some lost treasure? That always brings a little mystery, mystique, right, to our minds.
You and I have had those backpacks loaded for 20 years.
And we haven't gone yet.
We said we were going to go to the Lost Dutchman mine and find it and get all the gold, but we never left.
Well, here's some more we can
all right.
not go after.
Okay, all right.
So this one, so we're about 1850. There were 3 Germans that started west with a pretty big party of other immigrants. But in central Nevada, they were attacked by Indians, and only 3 men managed to escape with their lives. Now, they didn't really have anything. They didn't have any supplies, but they struggled bravely on westward, making their way through the desert region and onto the mountains of California. Now, when they reached a place called Mono Lake, to know where that is, if you consider where Bishop, California is.
I've been there many times.
Okay, Bishop, kind of in the middle of the state on the eastern side.
Right.
It's, I'm going to say 50 or 100 miles north of Bishop, California.
Okay.
So Mono Lake. Anyway, so when they reached Mono Lake and rounded its shores to the east, they kind of felt cheered up, even though they were hungry, they were tired, they were walking. But they paused for a little rest, and one of them, when they sat down, they noticed a streak of odd-looking clay. And it had the firmness of cement. Cement. In fact, it was kind of a natural cement.
I know what it is.
Okay.
Molybdenum.
Say that twice.
I can't.
Okay. So they sat down and they started to examine this more closely, and then they decided that what they were finding was gold.
Really?
Yeah, it was gold. That was in this kind of clay-like, heavy clay-like, cement-like clay, I guess.
Oh.
Anyway, the Germans were pretty wise in the ways of gold, and mostly through studying about it, the gold rush was already on, and the Germans knew that this 18-inch streak of clay, which evidently extended far down into the earth, was lumpy with yellow metal, which was gold, and almost pure gold. They figured that the clay was about 2/3 gold and worth about $200 a pound.
Wow.
Of this clay.
Wow.
So that's when the travelers let greed get the better part of good judgment. Each man saddled himself down with from 25 to 30 pounds of this cement, they figured about $5,000 worth. between the three of them. And that, 30 to 40 pounds each. Then they moved on, walking a little slower, getting tired, a little quicker, but resting more. Well, the extra load was simply too much for them, but they wouldn't throw it away.
And there was only three.
There was only three of them, and they're walking, remember. So one of the three guys lost his life as a direct result of the money, the riches. He slipped, and because of the gold, he couldn't keep his footing. He died at the bottom of a cliff. Slipped and
so
fell.
They were on kind of a side of a great big cliff wall, is that right?
Well, when they found it, they were down not too far from the lake. But as they're walking, trying to
getting out of there.
Yeah, so they must have been going through some mountainous areas.
I see.
Some hills or ravines.
Okay.
So he died at the bottom of this cliff. Another guy died just from sheer exhaustion and hunger, just totally wiped out.
Well, how long a walk was it?
It doesn't say. They just kept going, trying to get to help.
My.
The third guy, still clinging to a small sample of his golden cement, he wisely threw most of it away, but he kept just a little bit of it. Finally was picked up by a guy passing by and taken to the old Nevada mining camp of Esmeralda. So that's kind of on the very western side of Nevada. I'm going to say kind of east of Bishop, right up in that area.
All right.
So the record is kind of hazy as to the actions of the German after that. It's said that he failed to recover from the hardship of his trip and died, which is probably right. It is said also that before passing on, typical gold thing, he drew a crude map of the location of the golden cement, giving the drawing along with some verbal instructions to a man named Whitman, who had become his friend and was kind of trying to nurse him back to health.
I see.
So he died, but this Whitman guy now has a map and what the German had told him.
Now, did he have any proof of the gold? Did he give Whitman anything?
Yeah, he still had that little lump.
Okay.
Of gold. So Whitman knew that this was the real deal.
I see.
So just what became of Whitman is another matter of guesswork, unless that skeleton found some years later really was, as some people claimed, Whitman. So old-timers in the area said that for years after Whitman got the map, he would disappear periodically from the village, being careful not to be followed by anyone, and he returned with a pack sack bulging with this clay, this golden cement.
Could you get a mule down there?
I don't know. I'm going to guess that he left, and I'm going to bet he didn't go walking. I'm sure he probably took a horse or a couple of mules,
I see.
But on one trip, he failed to return. So later, a skeleton tentatively identified as that of Whitman was found on the desert, and there was a bullet hole through his skull.
Oh, a dastardly deed.
Somebody, yeah. So years later, in 1881, lumps of the cement, clay, the cementy stuff, heavy with gold, was picked up by a wandering prospector east of the once mining camp of Bodie, approximately 20 miles to the northeast of the place near Mono Lake where the Germans struck it rich. So we're still, in that area, but it's a big area. So this find started a new gold hunt. People were convinced the lost cement mine had been spotted at last, and the rich vein was never found. And there is absolutely no doubt about the actual existence of that ore. So this is not just a rumor. It actually exists. Now, there's a guy by the name of Wesley Howell, who was the first mining superintendent of the famed Copper Queen mine at Bisbee, Arizona, and another guy by the name of Spencer W. Clausen, a renowned mining engineer. They actually saw a sample of this golden cement.
Well, I got a question. If I'm jumping ahead, I apologize. Is it still today and nobody gets to the lake, or is it?
Well, we don't know how close it is to the lake. It's just there somewhere. But anyway, these two guys were experts that had a sample of this, and they gave technical proof of its existence. They admitted there was a lost cement mine somewhere in the area. But that hasn't led anybody to the treasure, even though statements of the experts did cause a new crop of prospectors to start searching. So it is there.
Still.
Yeah, still to this day. But again, you look at that area above Bishop, the lake, over to Bodie.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah, you're looking at a big area.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about a few other lost treasures. They're out there, Zeb. They're still there.
I'll pick you up Monday morning, and we're heading out.
We're heading?
Yeah.
Okay. There's 1,000 legends of buried treasure and lost mines of the Southwest. There are 10,000 reasons why hunters have been baffled in their long and unending searches. Now and then, as the tales run, the hidden treasure is discovered, but only to be again lost.
Do we have any here?
Up at the City of Rocks, they're supposedly from a bank robbery over in Pocatello.
I remember that.
And supposedly that's
you had that story on the program.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing that I've always mentioned in treasure hunting, if you found, say, these saddlebags full of gold, and that belongs to Wells Fargo, would you be willing to come forth and say, hey, Wells Fargo, I found your money?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, because Wells Fargo, even after 150 years, they may say, hey, that's our money, and we'll give you $100 reward or something.
Oh, wow.
So maybe somebody got it, maybe they didn't.
It still might be up there.
It still could be there.
Really?
So it's always out there. There's always some out there. And, when pirates buried a chest of doubloons or treasure, they buried a dead man over it to guard it. And this is a trick they learned, some say, from the Spanish.
Who was the guy that was picked with the unlucky number?
Draw straws.
Yeah.
At any rate, half the Spanish treasures of the Southwest are kept by a dead guard, and the Mexicans call the guard the patron.
The patron.
The patron. So if you're digging, you come across a dead body or the bones of a skeleton, keep digging.
Wow.
Because the gold may be underneath.
Okay.
So here's another story. Years ago, a Mexican shepherd girl was lost in a sandstorm of Death Valley, Arizona. And for 3 days, the wind blew high, the blinding sand cut deep, and the girl found herself in a depression that had been swept bare of all sand. And the clean bottom of that depression was covered with gold nuggets, heaps, piles, sacks of gold nuggets.
You're kidding.
So, well, you can imagine the sand blowing
across.
And so now you're down to the solid
kind of filters
rock.
It a little bit.
Yeah. And so here's all this gold just laying here.
Wow.
So by now the girl was dying with thirst and she was lost. And far away she saw a thin line of smoke. She knew that it was on the railroad crossing at Death Valley. So she gathered a few nuggets that she could carry and started across the sands and just, nearly didn't make it, but she finally reached the railroad. Now, the next train that came along picked her up, and sight of the nugget set the train crew wild. The girl was cared for, and at the first division point, the crew deserted their work and returned with the girl to guide them to the gold. So there was 3 or 4 guys that just left the railroad.
And this was where?
Down in Death Valley, Arizona.
Okay.
So, but by then, it had been a few days or longer, so there were no tracks left in the sand, no landmarks. So the winds had come again, and the shifting sands had covered the nuggets. The shepherd girl never saw again the golden rocks that she had stumbled upon.
Holy cow, they're still there.
No, the train, the ones she carried with her.
Yeah, I know, but the gold is still there.
Yeah. And so anyway, there was some of these guys that worked for the railroad, 5 of them, they set out with her on the search, and they continued until they all died. They perished out in the desert. So years go by, and then a cowboy, a stranger in those parts, who was trying to cross Death Valley, rode upon this golden pavement, if you want to call it that, all this gold that this girl had found. The winds had once more uncovered. He gathered a great amount of the gold, filling his saddle pockets and even removing his saddle blanket so he could roll up the precious ore in it. He did not know what a price he might pay for the gold in Death Valley. There's a reason they call it Death Valley. And had he taken the right direction, he might have ridden to water or the railroad, but he didn't know where he was. He was in Death Valley, and he was lost, and he had all this gold. Well, his horse finally sank, exhausted. He shot him to drink his blood. Then the cowboy staggered on. He threw away everything that he had, even to the last nugget. Finally, he dragged himself to a water hole and was able to get help. But once again, he told his story, but he never returned to get the mine in the Death Valley.
But did he have some of the gold on
No,
it?
by then he'd thrown everything away. He at this point, all he wanted to do was live.
Yeah.
You know, he was in Death Valley. So,
I'm going to follow you out because you have a tendency to throw dollar bills on the ground.
But, the Sands uncovered it. One day, they will uncover it again.
It makes you wonder about all these different stories, how true and accurate they are. But I've heard that there are, like the Lost Dutchman gold mine.
Yeah.
Somebody said in one book that the opening and everything is still right there in plain sight.
And I've read quite a bit about the Lost Dutchman. I knew a guy that was sure he knew where it was, but he died before he could head down and try to find it.
What about the pioneers? I hate to interrupt you on this, but coming across this country and everything, there certainly must be a great big multitude of things that would be very valuable that they left on the trails.
Oh, yeah. In fact, that's a whole nother story. We'll get into that another time. But, yeah, they left furniture, clocks, stuff that they thought they needed but didn't.
Wow.
So now, sometimes the fatal obstacle to treasure may be water. One time, a man named Welch discovered the location of gold hidden near a Spanish mission site on the San Gabriel River in Texas. And he knew he had found it. So he was going to dig for it the next day, but that night a big flood came, swept away all marks and locating points. So he lost all of his landmarks and he couldn't find it again. Now, out in New Mexico...
Why didn't he take a picture of it with his cell phone?
That was my thought. So out in New Mexico, two miners located a traditional lead of gold that they estimated to be worth $50 million. They secured a sack full of the ore, but while they were making arrangements to work the mine, a cloudburst and a resultant mountain slide came down, twisted the geography out of recognition, buried under this landslide. $50 million. That was their opinion of what they thought was there. So it's, again, there somewhere. Now, the obstacle may be some other kind of recurring accident on the Frio River in South Texas. I'm not sure where that is, South Texas. Since the 18th century has placed a ledge of silver down there. And late in the last century, an ancient Mexican who in boyhood had been captured by the Comanches and allowed to see this ledge. And was getting ready to guide a party of white men to its site. Well, on the night before departure, he died. Okay, leaving, however, specific directions, and with these directions, a man named Whitley struck out to find the ledge. Well, when he got up into the Frio Canyon, he became absorbed in hunting a bear. Now, that may sound a little strange.
More than just a little.
Okay, he was hunting a bear, and before I knew it, his time was up, and he had to go home. Okay.
You're not making a lot of sense here.
I'm not making this up. Okay, but it continues. He told his brother-in-law about the ledge.
Yeah.
Okay, so now brother-in-law knows.
Okay.
A year later, the brother-in-law found it and was on his way down the country to tell Whitley of the location when he was murdered.
By a bear.
Who knows? So the natural death of an old Mexican, a bear hunt, and a murder preserved the specific secret of the silver ledge.
Now we've had a lot of gold and silver here in the state of Idaho.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel that there are still various places, locations, old mines and everything that really have never been found?
I'm sure of it. In fact, there are, one story I know of was, there was a mine, and this guy bought the mine, and he did what they call salting.
Yeah.
He put gold in it and sold it for quite a bit of money to another group. So they went in and started digging, and they went down a little farther, and they did find the gold.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the salting just kind of was a roadmap.
Yeah, and so this guy ended up getting not much of anything, but the new owners dug, and they got what they needed.
You're so good at some of these stories. I don't want to take up any time, but like the bank robberies and everything else, they're still probably laying someplace in saddlebags or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's another one. 3 men were digging for a mule load of gold doubloons. They had found, what they found, according to the map, they found some charcoal. Then they were digging, okay. Then they found some mule bones and then some human bones. And this was all, according to the chart, buried directly over the gold. Okay. they had one hand on the doubloons. They found it, and it was there. And all of a sudden, for whatever reason, their wagon burned up with all their provisions in it, and the only decent shovel they had was gone, so they didn't have anything to dig. So they were far away from any habitation, and they had to leave. And when they came back later to finish, the doubloons were gone.
No.
Somebody came along and found their hole.
Somebody took the doubloons.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, I think I got time for one more.
One more quick one.
All right. So there's a guy named Frank Dobie. He's the one that tells this story. And he says there was a curious old character named Warner who lived below San Antonio, had been telling me of some Spanish silver buried on the Medina River. He kept promising that he would take me to look for it sometime. He never understood that I was just after the story and more insight into the storyteller. I could never get him to set a date. One day he flatly said that it would not be of any use for us to go. The spirits were against him, he said. The spirits. What do you mean by spirits? I asked. Well, how can they work against you? So he says, oh, they work all right, he replied. They always find a way to work. Maybe I might get all ready to go and would come home to find my horse lame, or my saddle borrowed by a neighbor, or maybe cows broke into my field, so I'd have to stay and fix the fence. Always there was something. So this guy's name is Frank. Mm-hmm. He says, one day, however, we actually started to the Medina. We were in an automobile, so this must have been early 1900s.
Yeah.
Without warning, the castings broke, and when we turned off the main road, we got into the worst road I've ever traveled. We had one puncture and a blowout after another until we were thoroughly disgusted. The guy refused to go any farther, and here's what he said. Don't you see how the spirits are working against us? It's just like I told you. So the spirits, Zeb,
are against
if we head towards gold and
finding the gold.
You start having flat tires or your horse gets out, we're not going to go.
I don't have to go for gold to have flat tires. But, we're out of time, and I got to run. But, we ought to do some research on what's available up here for stories.
I have a magazine, a True West or Frontier Times magazine, all on gold lost treasure.
Really?
Like about 15 stories about.
Well, somebody had told me one time there's a gold mine or something used to be up in over by the City of Rocks and all that.
Well, there's some in that area, but there's also one out towards Raft River.
Yeah, that's it.
There was a guy named George Wilson that actually came into Burley with some gold, but he started telling everybody about it. And
no more George.
He had some friends that followed him out, and George was never seen again. Nor was the gold.
Left the country, did he?
Nor was the gold.
I got to run.
I know.
Dr. History, you did it again. God bless you for being on the program again. Next week we'll hear more with Dr. History right here on Zeb at the Ranch. We're going to take this time to send it back over to Wheels. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, my goodness, what a nice day. Tuesday, May the 14th. Zeb at the Ranch in our final half hour right now. And we want to urge you to stop in and see some friends of ours at Patterson's, 421 East Main in Burley. Oh, my goodness, they are your electronic needs headquarters. All the car stereos and the speakers and the complete sound systems and all the televisions, Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, all of this and so much more, home theater systems. Come home from work, take your Tony Lamas off, kick back, and enjoy your home. All of this through our friends at Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Number to call, 678-6997. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, waiting to serve you, Patterson's in Burley. Also, a quick note that, of course, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox have teamed up to provide your whole home comfort systems. Absolutely. And they're offering up to $1,700 in rebates on new systems. All you had to do is call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. Terms and conditions apply. See the dealer for details. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and I'm really looking forward to having this gentleman that's a 30-year veteran policeman, and I say that out of the greatest respect for what he has done and what he continues to do. Good morning, Sergeant Mike McGrew. How are you?
Morning, Zeb, and I'm good, thank you.
Very pleasure on my part to have you on the program to talk about your book called A Higher Call to Duty. And Mike, I'm going to turn the ball over to you and kind of let us give you a thumbnail sketch of your life and also why you wrote this book.
There's a few reasons why I wrote the book. It's mainly to give folks hope that go through tragedies. There's a lot of things that's happened in my life as a cop and as a father. I was a police officer for 31 years. I retired as a sergeant from the Santa Barbara Police Department. And during that time, I worked about half of my career. I worked major crimes, so I did all the homicides and shootings and stabbings and sex crimes. So I kind of dealt with the worst of the worst of. The other part of my career is working patrol, so I was out on the streets as a patrol officer and sergeant. But I think a lot of folks, they look at the job of a police officer and they don't really understand it for the most part. They're happy that we're around. They usually don't want us around unless they're having a problem. But there's something that happens deep inside of first responders that I wanted to point out in the book. And during my career, as I responded to several just probably cases that you wouldn't want people to even imagine how bad they were, some of the homicides that I had to investigate and the scenes that we had to go to, it took a toll on me. It also took a toll on the people that were around me. And I deal a lot with talking about the pressures that law enforcement go through and the issues that come up from just carrying the burdens of others. Because as first responders wade through sorrow and tragedy, it's hard not to get wet. It's going to come out and it's going to hang on to you. So for the first 20 years of my career, I didn't know the Lord. I didn't know God. And I handled it through my own strength, I thought. I'd solve the cases. I'd go out and do what I was supposed to do. But on the inside, it was kind of falling apart. My home life wasn't doing well because you come home from work and you really can't talk about the things that you experience out on the street or while you're chasing down some of the worst suspects that have committed some heinous crimes. But what happens is there's an isolation that starts to happen, and it's very common with first responders. And the next thing I knew, I was in a place where I had two marriages fail, and I got to a point where my youngest son got diagnosed with bone cancer. He was 12 years old. He lost his leg, had to go through chemotherapy, and it was something that just really turned my world upside down because I'd been used to controlling everything out on the streets or dealing with everybody else's problems, but now I had something on my own hands that I couldn't control, and I didn't know where to go with that. About the same time, my other son got involved in drugs, and it was something where I didn't recognize it at first, but that developed into some hardcore drug addiction. And so I was at a point where things were not going so well for me, and I really didn't know where to turn. But I met my current wife, and our first date was to a Chris Tomlin concert. It was a Christian worship concert, and it was there that a pastor came out, and he spoke, and he just spoke about the hope amongst chaos and just a sense of peace for those who didn't have control in their life, or the TV basically talked about my life. the message was so hard hitting that it really started to make me think. And the next day, I have a cousin that works at the police department. I went to him and I talked to him and I asked him if he'd tell me about Jesus. And he said, yeah, he would. And he's a believer. He grew up with a strong faith, and he'd been praying for me for many years. But it was at that point that things began to change for me. And while I had God in my life, a transformation occurred. I was able to start to receive the peace that I was looking for. I was able to start to see God's grace for what it was. Because as a cop for 20 years, I saw the worst of the worst of, but I always saw something powerful, and I always saw something good that would come out of these things. And I didn't know what it was until I became a believer. And then I realized it was God's grace. And it was there that I began to see that every day and see what it was exactly that God was doing with me out on the streets. And it just changed everything for me, and it gave me a new hope. I ended up losing my son. He was 18 when he died. And if I didn't have the Lord at that time, I don't think I would have made it, Zeb.
Absolutely.
I was just so grateful that God was with me, and he walked me through the death of my child. And when I went back to work, I took about a month off, went back to work, and I told God, I said, I don't want to go to another call of somebody who lost a child or somebody that lost a family member and give them the bad news. But it seemed like those were all the calls I was getting as I came back. But I quickly realized that as I was standing on the doorstep of these families that, I was looking at them and my heart was broken wide open, and they could see right into it. But they also saw that I was standing, and they would ask me why are you standing? So it gave me an opportunity to point to God and His goodness in my life and the strength that He was giving me at that point.
Wow.
And it brought hope to these families.
Mike, I don't know you. I've never met you, but I have the utmost respect for what you've done and what you've accomplished. I've been in the rodeo business almost all my life as an announcer, and I've traveled all over the United States and Canada, and I've got many, many friends in California, especially with the Kern County Sheriff's Department. I've gone on ride-alongs, etc. I don't think the general public, and this is my own opinion, please tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the general public has any kind of appreciation at all for what you folks see on a daily shift that you have to deal with. I mean, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly, like a Clint Eastwood movie, and it's got to go home with you, and it's got to really be hard on your soul and your temper every day.
Yeah, it is. Every time you respond to a traumatic event or somebody else's trauma, and you see that, take the piece of you, take the chunk of your heart, that you'll never get back. And to sit there and deal with a sexual assault survivor, a woman who's just been raped, or to go try to comfort a family during the loss of a loved one, or to be there and in a fight with a violent felon and that's trying to take your life. I mean, these are things that happen to cops every single day. And this profession is filled with people of courage and character. I was just so blessed to be able to work with the men and women that I did work with and that are out there on the streets right now. Mm-hmm. And they go out, they do a great job every single day, but the media doesn't always put it that way. They don't always paint that picture. And so that's real hard. It's real hard on the folks that are doing the job.
Mike, let me ask you this. With your book, A Higher Call to Duty, and I want to get into basically some of the formation of the chapters and everything, but we look at now Seattle and Los Angeles, and we're looking at San Francisco and Sacramento, and we're looking at the absolute lowest point of people's lives, moving there, living in human filth with all the needles and all the drugs and the absolutely no hope situation. Why? Why, Mike? Why is this happening?
Well, I think that there's some deception that happens in legislation. A lot of times, they want to pass these laws that say, hey, this is no big deal. Pot, marijuana is not a big deal. Let's legalize it. And it first started off with medical marijuana, and then it ended up into recreational use here in California. But that's a gateway drug, and it's a dangerous one. It's actually, they engineered so much that the THC level is addictive, and it gets people involved in drugs. But the next thing that happens is people start smoking heroin, or they'll start smoking meth, or they'll start getting addicted to these other drugs. And we have legislation now that has just reduced the penalties for possession of narcotics. So in California, if you're in possession of heroin or methamphetamine, it's a misdemeanor, and it's basically a ticket. So back in the days when I started, there was a felony, and you would go to jail, and they had mandatory sentencing for people that would be under the influence, and they could prove that if you incarcerated somebody who was addicted to heroin, that the cost savings to the community, just in the value of property crimes, was worth it, because even after the cost of incarceration. So, what happens is you'll get some politicians that will start to they'll want to be lenient in those areas. We have a problem with the prisons being full, so they want to release the criminals early, or not even take them if they can't. They'll just put them on probation. But there's no consequence for using that, and so the more drug use you have out there, and the more the politicians want to make it not a big deal, then the more use you're going to have, and then you're going to see what's going on right now. So this is something that law enforcement associations have been fighting for the years. We try to get in front of this, but then there's lobbyists that are on the other side that want to have this stuff out there, and I have no understanding why. I guess maybe they don't have to see what we have to see every day, but there's a cost to it. The drug addiction destroys families. It destroys the person that's involved in it. It destroys the community. The property crimes are just increasing steadily here in California. It's going up and up and up, and that's because drug use goes up.
Right.
People who are addicted to drugs can't usually, and they're not going to be able to hold a job, so they're going to have to get it somehow, either by selling or by stealing.
Mike, I'm going to say this. I'm very proudly a Christian myself, and I honestly think that we can turn this bus around before it goes over a cliff. I honestly believe that. But it's going to take a resurgence in our faith and more of an occurrence, along with a resurgence of going back to God and the Bible. What do you find out on the streets with some of these people when you talk to them about your faith and your testimony? Are you bringing them into an understanding of faith?
Yeah, it is, because when we have a testimony, especially, my testimony has been powerful in a lot of areas, because people, they won't usually listen to you should do this or you should do that, but they will listen to what we have to offer experience-wise. So when I go out in the streets and I'm able to talk about loss to a family that just lost a loved one, I'm able to speak to that because of my testimony. I'm also able to speak about God's goodness in that situation. Same thing with drug addictions. I'm able to speak to that issue because it has hit my family. It's affected me, and I had to deal with it for 31 years as a cop. The effects of it. But I think that as we walk in with the light of Jesus with us, people, they're attracted to that. The one thing that I found is that the conversation will go that way. If somebody knows that you are spiritual, that you are somebody that loves the Lord, you don't have to try to Bible thump or shove anything down their throats. But you do have a testimony, and people will listen to your testimony. They want to hear it. That was one of the reasons that I wrote this book. I gave my testimony at a prayer breakfast where there were several people there, about 600 people in Santa Barbara, and afterwards the folks said, "Hey, you need to write a book." I didn't think I did at that point, but after prayer, it felt like, this testimony could help a lot of other folks if I had the book, and then we can spread it around. And it has been. We have the book. It's going all over. It's gone down into different countries, and the feedback that we're getting is very impactful. That people read it, it has impacted their lives in a really positive way.
Mike,
and I just talk about God's goodness in my life as well through the book.
Absolutely.
As hard as my story is, I'm standing, and I have joy in my heart today. So there's a lot of hope, no matter what you go through.
Mike, have you ever, in the circumstances and the book itself, and then also visiting with these people on the streets, have you had some occurrences of people get a hold of you later and thank you for your testimony and also the way you worked with them? Have you had personal relationships with some of these people that came back and said basically thank you for what you did?
Yes, that happens very often. There's a lot of people that do that. Once you touch somebody with the gospel and that begins to work in their lives, they'll never forget that. And I'll never forget what my cousin did for me. Just his prayers even before, for the years before I became a believer. But that day that he sat me down and I was able just to speak to him about what God was about and what a relationship with Jesus Christ was about. And I was just so grateful for that because it's just grown into amazing things. I have a book. I never thought I'd be where I am with that. But I have people I've arrested in the past that reach out to me. There's people that are in jail that will call me and they want to talk about God is what they want to talk about, and they want to talk about getting back on track. So it wasn't just the folks that I dealt on the victim level. I also talked to a lot of suspects, and I know that the Lord's been working in the hearts of a lot of people just through the journeys. Every time I went out on a call after I became a believer, and I saw God working in my life, I knew that it was more than just a 911 call. I just felt like God was going to put me someplace that I was needed. And that was the case. So I kind of went out I went out working for the Lord, and like I said, I didn't have to run around and try to evangelize on every call, but I did bring that with me in my heart, and the words would just come out, and the conversations would come out naturally. And,
absolutely,
and I would be in positions that I knew were divine appointments. And as a motorcycle cop, and I read about this, I did about 4 years on motors, and I could hardly write a ticket because the people that I would pull over just be one after another. And I was a sergeant, so I didn't have to pull over everybody. I did a lot of grant writing and stuff. But while I was out in this field, I would pull somebody over, and the person would start crying, and I'd just say, well, this isn't about the ticket, what's going on? And they would start to share with me different stories. And one lady that I stopped, she had just come back from the doctor's office, and she was coming home after getting a diagnosis of cancer. And so I was able just to sit with her and just talk to her about my experiences with that. And as I asked her about her faith, and she said she knew God, but she had walked away. And that was usually the way the conversations went. For some reason, people knew the Lord, but they had walked away. And I would just give my testimony and then ask them if they wanted the prayer. And in this case, she did. So I was praying with her at the side of the road, knelt down next to her car. And at the end of that, you could just see how God struck her, and she knew that that appointment was a divine appointment. Because I said, if you don't think God's with you, then ask yourself why a motorcycle cop's praying with you at the side of the road right now.
Amen.
And I left. Yeah.
Amen.
So it was the book's just filled with a lot of testimonies about that. It's got interesting cases that I worked on. I've had some very interesting cases out here in California. So it's filled with all kinds of things. It's an exciting book. Everybody that's picked it up said that they can't put it down, and it's an easy read. It's not a hard read.
Well, I tell you what, Mike, I'm almost out of time. I got about 30 seconds left, and I want you to tell my audience, where can the book be obtained? The book is called A Higher Call to Duty. Where can they find it?
Yeah. They can find it on you can also find it on Sergeant Mike McGrew, SGTMikeMcGrew.com. And that's SGT Mike McGrew, MCGREW.com.
All right, Mike, I'm out of time, but I want to tell you, you got to come back on the program. You're an inspiration to my program. I can't wait to visit with you again. I'm going to get a copy of the book, and I mean this when I say it. God bless you, sir, for your time this morning. Thank you very much.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sergeant Mike McGrew, 30-year veteran police officer, and he has been through literally all of it. Right now, I got to get a weather forecast on here, and the weather brought to you by our friends at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657, or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Absolutely all the delicious meats, all the marinated pork ribs, the tri-tips, of course, all the steaks and the buckboard bacons and the sausages, all of it from Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. You be sure and get a hold of them today. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Another beautiful day in almost summer-like conditions. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly sunny skies for today. A little bit of a breeze out of the south-southwest, right at about 5 miles an hour. We are looking at a high of 81 tonight. It appears that some clouds are going to be rolling into the valley with a low of 52. Those clouds are going to be sticking around for tomorrow, a little bit on the breezy side, expecting a high of 78. Mostly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 53. Then as we make our way towards the weekend on Thursday, we do have a 40% chance of rain. Showers going to be cooling off to about 72. Showers likely for Thursday evening with a low of 44, and that could carry over for Friday with a high of 54. That's a look at your weather forecast for 7:30.
Gina, thank you. And, of course, the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number for Don and the crew, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time at Scarrows Meats. Wow, great program today. Thank you to all the guests. Thank you to all the listeners and the calls. And I want to urge you to remember our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of tires for all your vehicles, cars, pickups, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever, all the tread designs and all the sizes. It's all there at all 7 locations. I love that word, all. And, of course, they have the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, and believe me, service reigns supreme. They really worry and care about giving you the best of service all the time, anytime. They're right there to serve you anytime you drive in at Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Tomorrow we got the Fish and Game along with some other great guests. Don't miss that. And we always wrap up the program by saying the way things were, the way things ought to be. And the world needs more cowboys. God bless you. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06.